It was one of the most disturbing child abuse cases in recent court TV history. Shanda Vander stood trial in Michigan, charged with first-degree murder and child abuse after her 15-year-old son with special needs, Timothy, starved to death while under her care. The jury heard shocking testimony about Timothy's life with his mother, about being force-fed hot sauce, enduring ice baths, and locked out of the pantry while his teenage body deteriorated to 69 pounds. Shanda took the stand in her own defense, but the jury didn't buy it. She was convicted and locked up for good, but today Shanda was back in court, appearing virtually, asking the judge for a new trial. Tonight, we have the judge's decision. But first, Lori Vallow Daybell's descent from suburban mother to convicted murderer is a chilling saga of apocalyptic delusions and family betrayal. After serving life sentences for the murders of her children, JJ and Tylee, and her fifth husband's first wife, Tammy, Lori Vallow Daybell was moved from Idaho to Arizona, where she stood trial for her involvement in the murders of her fourth husband, Charles Vallow, and the attempted murder of her ex-nephew-in-law, Brandon Boudreaux. And in those cases, Lori Daybell chose to represent herself, but she couldn't convince a jury that she wasn't involved. She was found guilty in both separate trials, and today she was back in court for both for the final sentencing hearing in the Doomsday Cult Mom case. Welcome to Closing Arguments. I'm Julia Janae, filling in for Vinnie Politan. Thank you for being with us this evening as we dive into Judgment Day for the Doomsday Cult Mom. Lori Vallow Daybell, or Lori Daybell as she prefers to be called, she believed that her fifth husband was a prophet who could predict the end of times. But surely they didn't predict that today would be the final stop of her freedom. There was always a question throughout this case as to who was in control of this doomsday cult web of death. Was it Lori or Chad Daybell, who is currently sitting on death row? Was Lori the one in charge after all? Remember, before they got married, Lori viewed herself as a goddess, a translated being, and she told this to anyone who would listen. She felt her understanding of the scriptures and the afterlife surpassed anyone around her, even the religious leaders of her own faith. And then we learned about Lori, the mistress, an affair with a married man and a plan to eliminate their spouses and her younger children. Now, Lori's husband was the first to die under mysterious circumstances, Charles Vallow, and then JJ, and then Tylee Ryan. And it's Lori who wanted to be unburdened, or so it seemed, weaponizing her own brother, Alex Cox, to carry out these crimes. And then after her arrest and conviction in Idaho, we got introduced to Lori the lawyer, in control of her own two trials in Arizona for seemingly no other intelligent reason than to show that she is as capable as she always thought. So even in the face of the final judgment of the court, Lori couldn't resist these final words.
Representing myself, I have learned much about the law through this process, and I'm grateful for the knowledge that I have gained. Knowledge is eternal, and it is only love and the knowledge that we acquire in this life that we take with us into the next. I have studied the rules of law, case law, and the like. I was amazed and enlightened as my understandings were completely changed from before I started this process. Before this long court journey, I only had basic understanding of the judicial process. I was of the understanding that both parties would be able to get up at a trial and each tell their side of the story, but I soon learned that the rules of law do not allow that.
Actually, they do.
Conditions of this jail are not for long-term confinement. You do not have access to direct medical care. You do not have access to proper nutrition. You do not have access to sunlight. You do not have access to decent dental care. 98% of all cases in Maricopa County end in plea deals where the accused plead guilty. And I'll tell you why. It's so miserable in that jail that they plead guilty so they can go to the prison and have decent food, decent sunlight, and a chance to live. 2% of all cases in Maricopa County that actually do go to trial, of all the cases that actually do go to trial, only 0.2 end in acquittal. That is 1 out of 1,200 people who go to trial go home.
That's actually not the correct stat.
If I was accountable for these crimes, I would acknowledge it, and I would let you know how sorry I was. But I have witnessed for myself what it is like to leave this mortal existence and return home when I temporarily died in the hospital giving birth to my daughter, Tylee. When our spirit leaves our body and we return to the pure energy state in the spirit world, we immediately no longer feel hate, anger, envy, or resentment. I promise you, heaven is a very busy and happy place where everyone is engaged in projects that they love to do. That includes Joshua, that includes Tylee, that includes Tammy, that includes Charles. No one there, none of these people are seeking revenge or justice. So although we miss our loved ones, and I do too, I assure you that they are busy and happy and peaceful. I have felt the kind of contentment that they feel now, and I try to duplicate that here. So whether I'm giving 5 life sentences or 7 life sentences, I will continue to try to uplift and help and strengthen those around me. It does not matter where you serve on earth as long as you do it with love. It doesn't matter if I'm given 7 lifetimes or the death penalty like my husband. What things look impossible to man are easy for Jesus. Jesus tells us in the Bible not to judge, but this whole entire justice system is just that. So I want you to watch, because God will show the world great miracles. I will continue to love everyone I come in contact with, and I will turn this battle over to God. If this is God's battle, then the math doesn't matter. 7 lifetimes or the death penalty doesn't matter. God's miracles will abound. When a soldier goes off to war, he is a soldier. When a soldier comes back from war, he is a warrior. And Jesus is in the prisons. He is turning his soldiers into warriors. For the prisoners shall go free. Sometimes victory doesn't look like victory until it's finished. Prisoners who have been told that they will never go free will be free. And I want you to expect miracles, and I want you to watch for them, because you will see. We fear not what man can do, because God's warriors surround us. When the battle is relentless, and this one has been for over 6 years, remember, God is building his army of warriors in the prison system. He is turning Sauls into Pauls. When Jesus is sending his servants into the prisons to prepare his warrior team, we will be there only until this purpose is complete, and then the warriors will walk free. We are redeemed by Jesus Christ, so we are free right now, but his chains will break. Prison walls will fall. The power and majesty of God will be revealed. When Jesus is ready, he will call his warriors from the prisons, and we will walk free, and we will serve him. I will quote Moroni, the great prophet, from Moroni 8:16, and he says, "Behold, I speak with boldness, having authority from God. I fear not what man can do, for perfect love casteth out all fear." And in Ether, Moroni says, "And now, if I have no authority for these things, judge ye. For ye shall know that I have authority when ye shall see me, and we shall stand before God at the last day."
Such conviction from a convicted woman. I don't know if we need to add Lori the pastor to her titles, Lori the prison reform advocate. You never know what you're going to get from Lori Vallow Daybell. And there's someone who was inside of the courtroom who's going to tell us all about what was happening there. We have with us Court TV crime and justice correspondent Matt Johnson. Matt, good to see you. Thank you for being with us. You've been bouncing around the country. You were in Idaho, now you're in Arizona. Tell me about what it was like inside of that courtroom when everyone was hearing those words from Lori.
Yeah, you know, and speaking of Idaho, I covered the first trial of the Doomsday Cult mom, and she was pretty much Par for course today, you know, much like how she was during that trial when she would giggle and laugh at the witnesses that would testify in the first trial of JJ and Tylee. And today I saw a lot of that. And when she was making those statements, the judge had to correct her on her inaccuracies with the judicial system and her statistics that she was trying to spew in the courthouse here behind me. And then there were times when she was trying to be the prophet, Lori, when you had people in the gallery, they were kind of chuckling. People were looking up. They were raising their hands like, what is happening here? And then Kay and the other victims, they were trying to cover their mouths so that Lori couldn't see them smile, because clearly there is no grasp of reality for Doomsday Cult Mom.
And you mentioned the victims, Matt. Tell us about these victim impact statements. I know that they were emotional. I know this was a final time for these victims to actually speak and not only be heard by the court, be heard by the public, but for Lori Daybell to have to hear what she did.
Yeah, perhaps this is the last time we're going to hear from the Doomsday Cult Mom, right? And this is the very last time that she's going to be in a courtroom here in the state of Arizona. She'll be shipped back to Idaho, where she's going to start serving those 5 life behind bars sentences, 2 more tacked on here. But the courtroom was full of people that were passing around Kleenex boxes. They had lined up in front of the courthouse for several hours to be here. And it was really interesting because to watch this historic day, closing this chapter in this long 6.5-year book of the Doomsday Couple, you had people from Rexburg, you had the investigators here in the gallery, you also had family members of Lori, which was interesting, her brother and also one of her sisters, sister who testified. And then you had all the other victims' families. But what was really heart-wrenching was a letter that Kay Woodcock read to the court when she addressed the court on behalf of J.J. Vallow, who's no longer with us, one of Lori's victims. Take a listen.
I am Joshua Jackson Vallow. I am the son of Charles Vallow. I should be 13 years old now, but I'm forever 7. The impact of my father's death was my murder. And Judge, it is 13 years today that JJ's adoption was finalized, and they moved him immediately right away to Hawaii. And I hope you remember that. I trusted you!
Next is Jerry Vallow.
There was not a dry eye in that Arizona courtroom. When that happened, like, she looked over at Lori. At first, she was told that she couldn't address her directly. She looked over and then she screamed, "We trusted you." It echoed through that tiny courtroom. Everybody was starting to hold their breath. There was not a dry eye in the place. It was one of the most dynamic moments we have ever seen in this saga that is Lori Vallow.
Oh, Matt, when you hear her say that JJ is forever 7, we had a question in this trial because it's in Arizona, it's not the Idaho trial. There were rulings that JJ and Tylee couldn't be mentioned, but they are there. They are the reason for so many of those people being there, not just to support Charles Vallow's memory and Brandon Boudreaux and what he went through, but JJ and Tylee, they were how we even got involved in a case like this. Tell me about the actual sentence, because since this was conspiracy to commit murder and also this attempted murder of Brandon Boudreaux, there could have been some wiggle room. What was the ultimate sentence?
Yeah, well, the ultimate sentence was life behind bars with the possibility of parole ×2 after 25 years. But that is after those 5 life sentences in the state of Idaho. So that's where she's headed right now. If she has any more matters before the court, such as paying back any victim fees, she must join via Zoom. She's no longer going to be transported here to Arizona. But the judge having some very harsh words for the Doomsday Cult mom, and especially her love of the camera. Take a listen.
You just referenced a Bible verse or a verse recently about the prisoners shall go free. That is not a literal verse. That is a verse about people that accept Jesus can be in prison and they will go free when they die and go to heaven. But it will take an act of God for you to go free. In short, you should never be released from prison. Eventually, the camera that you seek out so much, the media requests, will lessen over time and you'll fade into obscurity.
So then she's sentenced, and right before that she was saying 7 life sentences. When is it enough? Is 7 enough? And everyone in the gallery, they were nodding yes. You know, they want her away for the rest of her life. So then another huge moment. She gets up in her shackles and in her handcuffs, and she's walking, being escorted out of the room for a final time. And someone yelled this from the gallery. Take a listen.
Lori, right in prison. If we can't do that, let's go. Everyone out now.
Right there when someone yelled, you know, you're going to rot in prison. I'm paraphrasing here. There was a little bit more to it, but she just looked back at that person and kind of gave a wink. And right there, Julia, I know we already talked about it, but that's what reminded me of what I saw so much in trial number 1 in the state of Idaho at the Ada County Courthouse. How she would giggle and not take this seriously. How there's no remorse for this person.
Yeah.
She's a shell of a person.
It's like she didn't miss a beat when she heard that. She didn't even react to it. Her natural reaction was to toss that wink. And Matt, tell me if you saw this as well. I believe I saw it on our cameras when it was going. We were hearing these victim impact statements. It seemed like when the victims were saying things to her about how terrible she was, and when Larry was speaking to her via the video conference, she was nodding and smiling along with him. Did you notice that? And tell me about the press conference that happened afterward.
Yeah, she was. She was very jovial before the proceedings even began, talking to her standby counsel, asking him things, joking around, laughing, smiling at people. She tried to make eye contact with Kay Woodcock, who was in the jury box, seated in a direct line of sight. But then when other people were testifying and giving their victim impact statements, she would just kind of look down or kind of pretend that she wasn't listening. So that was pretty interesting. But you know who had the final say? It's Kay Woodcock and other people out in front of the courthouse here after this all wrapped up. Take a listen.
We are so glad to say our mission is accomplished after 6.5 years of her hell. We're done. And I never have to see her again, talk to her again. She can never call me, and I won't be calling her. And God bless Charles and JJ and Tylee and Tammy. And I thank Lori for being such a stupid criminal.
Stupid criminal now on her way back to Idaho for the rest of her life. Julia?
Matt Johnson, you left Idaho. She's going to Idaho. Maybe you can come back to Atlanta for a little bit. We'll see. Good reporting. Thank you so much for all of that. Let's bring in our think tank, see what they think about today. And Lori, in her own words, we have with us attorney Stephen Longo. We have criminal defense attorney Ellis Palavides and criminal defense attorney Sean Kent with us. Great to see you all this Friday evening. Let's talk about Lori. And Stephen, I'm going to start with you. I mean, it's almost infuriating to hear her use her murder trial to be pulpitting.
Yeah, absolutely despicable behavior, and it's no surprise that she was convicted and is facing the maximum sentences and now 7 consecutive life sentences.
Yeah, Sean, do you think that there is going to be, or would there have been any change if she had an attorney? She did use this opportunity to represent herself. She didn't do that when she was in Idaho. She did it this time around in Arizona twice. But would we be here with the same outcome and perhaps hear her less because she would have an attorney?
I actually think it might have been different. She had a defensible case. Even if you look at it, she's probably going to go down in history as one of the few people to have 7 life sentences, and there's not actually evidence of her committing to act. She's got 7 conspiracies for a life sentences. You never see that before, but because of the way she's acted, and that's why we always tell people, don't defend yourself. She is the poster child for what happens when you defend yourself. She was coherent, she was intelligent, she came across that way, but because of her personality, shall we say, that just affected her. And the jury didn't need to see that, and they saw all of her charm in full effect in front of that jury, and I think that hurt her.
Ella, Sean says coherent and intelligent, and I think when people listen to her, they're trying to figure out, does she have a break from reality? Is she delusional, or does she truly believe all of this that she's saying, that all of these victims that she has are in heaven, they're happy, and they're not upset with her?
I think, well, I'm an attorney, not a priest, so I can't comment on her take regarding that. She does say that she had this near-death experience, which has now given her access to the other world where the victims have actually forgiven her, and therefore she's not responsible. She does string the words together in a way that does suggest that she's lucid. However, she is clearly using them in a way that is manipulative, because now she seems to want to rally all the prisoners under the banner of God in order to free them from jail. So that now seems to be her next mission.
Yeah, that was a new one to hear her talk about what should change behind bars. We have a lot more to talk about, especially all those victim impact statements that were said today. So the think tank is going to stay with us through the break. When we come back, we'll have more out of that Arizona courtroom after this.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
Donna Adelson is facing charges of murder, the death of her former son-in-law.
Terrible. Now that Donna has turned into a defendant, what's next for the Adelson clan?
The matriarch mastermind murder trial. Live coverage this August on Court TV.
Daybell, someone I considered family, conspired with others to shoot at me. An act that not only endangered my life, but it threatened to destroy the sacred family unit that I cherish. The betrayal by someone connected to my family has left me battling overwhelming emotions over the years. I lived with constant vigilance, loneliness, regret, sadness, depression, anger, heartache, and embarrassment, all while dying.
That was the voice of Brandon Boudreaux. He's the sole survivor in Lori Vallow Daybell and Chad Daybell's conspiracy to be together and further their sinister plot. And they had this plan to kill anyone that kept Lori away from Chad Daybell. Brandon and his family members, they gave emotional statements today about the impact of this attempted shooting and what it had on their lives. And we also heard from the loved ones of those who didn't survive Lori's wake. And that includes Charles Vallow, Tylee Ryan, and JJ Vallow.
My father was gone in an instant, and later my sister and brother disappeared until they were later found in Lori Vallow's new husband's backyard. This has affected me personally. I had to do something I've never done, and that was fight to stay alive after the pain. There are no words for what I've experienced, and I had to choose to fight and to stay alive for my children and for my wife. Now I'd like to address Lori Vallow. She claims to be Jesus's favorite. She claims to lead a spiritual life, and she claims that she loves everybody, and she also claims to have seen Jesus and visited with him. When did Jesus allow us to commit adultery? When did Jesus change the commandment of thou shalt not kill? When did Jesus allow us to steal money from our dead children? When did Jesus tell us to lie our way through life? It must be a very sad life to smile your way through all the pain you've caused. Rather than being able to acknowledge the pain that she has caused, she would rather say that Charles, Tylee, and JJ's death were a family tragedy and not her evil doing. And I will say this, if you want to see darkness, look at the murdering cult that claims God has commissioned their mission to kill my family and others. Quite frankly, I believe that Lori Vallow herself is the family tragedy. Thank you.
You killed Kylie. Did you enjoy it? Look at me, Lori. Did you enjoy it? Did you dance around the fire? Like you sent the videos to Chad of you dancing around in your room for him? Did you enjoy it? And then the most precious thing, a 7-year-old, autistic, unbelievably God's present to Kay and I, to Todd. Look at Todd. Turn around and look at him, Lori, because that's the last time you're ever going to hear my name out of your mouth. Look at Todd. Have you said you're sorry? You wrapped JJ's hands in tape. You wrapped his arms in tape. You covered his eyes. And you buried him in 8 inches of ground. Murderous! May God have mercy on your soul, because that's the only thing in life. And don't count on God where you're going.
I'm here today to forgive you. I know what it's like to be in prison. I was in prison when y'all got the rights to my son. I know what it's like. Once you get done with this court and you go sit in that cell, you got to relive everything that you did. I hope for you that you understand the truth of what God did on the cross, because God died not only for me, he died for the unlovable. People that the world thinks shouldn't, they judge. I hope you understand the truth before you die. You still have a chance.
We see who you are, a manipulator, a liar, and a destroyer. And the worst thing is, Charles loved you. He protected you, and you repaid him with betrayal and bullets. You left him dead on the floor and then went shopping for flip-flops and a new life with your apocalyptic con man. You tried to erase him, stealing his phone, twisting the narrative, and lying to anyone who would listen. But the truth doesn't lie, Lori, and now the truth has destroyed you. Lori, you have noticed this courtroom is full. It's not because people admire you. It's not because they see instrument in God's hands. It's because you're a sideshow freak, a murderous carnival act. People come to gawk at the monster who thinks she's divine. They don't come to honor you. They come to witness the wreckage of your delusion and to see justice crush it. You've always wanted an audience, but this audience isn't here to adore you. They are here to watch you fall, to watch you stripped of the spotlight you crave, to see your false crown ripped away. You are not a goddess. You are not chosen. You are not powerful. You just thought you could play God and win.
Such poignant words from these family members. The think tank is still with us. Stephen Longo, Ellis Palavidas, and Sean Kent. Ellis, let me start with you. Todd Trahan there, JJ Vallow's biological father. I haven't heard much from him. This is one of my first times hearing him at length, but he's in a situation where he lost the rights to his child and hoped that Lori Vallow and Charles Vallow were going to be able to raise his son in a better situation than he would have been able to provide. JJ's biological mother would have been able to provide, but this likely would not have happened in his care. Your thoughts about just the impact of hearing someone in his position?
I think it's a real testament to what the sentencing and what a sentencing does for people, because it's a cathartic process. We saw a range of emotions from everybody, and from this man, to see him be able to reach deep within and find the ability to actually forgive her and hope that she actually finds her way back to God in the way that it should be interpreted, I think is a testament to the strength of his character, frankly.
Yeah, whenever you hear that during victim impact statements, it's always touching because you know they don't have to, but they're choosing to. Sean, this is one of those cases, and yes, the judge is saying Lori Vallow Daybell just needs to go into obscurity, but it's one of those cases that, had it not been for Larry Woodcock, Kay Woodcock, and the use of the media to get this story everywhere, I really wonder how long it would have been if she would have escaped any prosecution. She had already clearly gotten away with Charles Vallow's murder because it had been ruled self-defense and she was in a different state. So your thoughts on that part of it, what it took to bring down not only Lori Vallow Daybell, but Chad Daybell as well?
It is a wild cavalcade of circumstances, if you will, because if you follow this case, it is, you know, doing this for 25 years, you never see a case of this happen this way. Like you said, she got away with it. She was in Arizona. The self-defense claim, if you will, by her brother, she makes it all the way up to Idaho, and next thing you know, everything just starts falling into place. I've never seen anything quite like it. I don't think anybody's ever seen anything quite like it, and I don't want to call it luck, might be karma, but whatever it is, that strong family made sure this was not going to be forgotten. So that's something to watch.
Yeah, whatever it is, it's come to an end now. It has come to an end with all of these life sentences stacked on top of each other. Stephen, what do you think happens next in this case, if anything? I mean, she's got all of these life sentences. We know Chad Daybell, who she still calls her husband. She said that today. My husband, Chad Daybell, he's on death row, appealing his death penalty conviction. But your thoughts on if we will see anything else out of this case?
I don't know that we will. I think the amount of life sentences, I think it's going to be exactly what the judge indicated when rendering his sentence, which the camera lights will shut off, the crowds will go home, and Miss Daybell will fade into obscurity in her jail cell.
And that is the ending that she should have, no doubt. Think Tank, we are going to take a break, but when we come back, you'll still be here because we're going to talk about another case, another mother who is convicted of murder. But this one starved her special needs child to death. And she says she should have a new trial because of her own mental illness. We have the judge's decision on that request next.
Raising two primary issues. One is whether or not Ms. Vander was competent after giving her first day of testimony. The second issue, Your Honor, is ineffective assistance of counsel. I laid out a number of areas that I feel that there were some missteps and that Ms. Vander was not provided her Sixth Amendment right to the effective assistance of counsel.
That was the attorney now representing Shanda Vander. She's not too happy with the one that she had during trial because she was convicted of murdering and abusing her 15-year-old son, Timothy. He's a child who had special needs. He was starved and tortured at the hands of his own mother, along with his older brother, who took a plea deal in this case, all before Timothy eventually passed away in their Michigan home. And today, his mother was back in court. She appeared virtually because she believes she deserves a new trial, all because she says she did not consent for the trial to go forward after she was on the stand, and she says she suffered a panic attack, so she missed the end of the case, the closing arguments, and her conviction and sentencing. Well, here's what the judge decided in her argument over ineffective assistance of counsel.
The competency report gives no indication that Ms. Vander was incompetent. Then the court had a chance to observe Ms. Vander at trial. Ms. Vander appeared to be calm, collected. She interacted with her trial counsel, Mr. Johnson. She appeared to be writing notes, handing those notes. She interacted with Mr. Goings, her co-counsel, along with Mr. Johnson, and she at least appeared to be very involved in her defense. Ms. Vander was practically appeared to be a co-counsel sitting at a table. Throughout the trial, Ms. Vander claimed lapses of memory, but it was clear to this court that those lapses of memory were self-serving. The court is not held slave to somebody's being upset. At this point in time, the court is making the ruling that the motion for a new trial based on incompetency is denied. In regards to the basis for relief off of ineffective assistance of counsel, Mr. Ambrose does raise some, I think, are legitimate issues regarding defense strategy. In particular, of concern to the court is the allegation that Ms. Vander did not authorize Mr. Johnson to essentially concede guilt to voluntary manslaughter. That is a pretty significant issue. The motion for a new trial based on ineffective assistance of counsel, the court is going to grant the defense a Ginther hearing for those issues raised in the brief. That will not occur today. As I indicated, Mr. Ambrose would like his client here for questioning, and I think that is a reasonable request.
There you have it. The judge denied that motion for a new trial, but did offer some caveats. Let's talk about it with the think tank. Bringing back the criminal defense attorneys, Stephen Longo, Ellis Palavides, and Sean Kent. Sean, we have a lot of defendants who, after they are convicted, they argue for a new trial. They argue ineffective assistance of counsel. But did she have a stronger argument than most?
She had a stronger argument on the ineffective assistance of counsel, especially what the judge just said towards the end, based upon the fact, whether it's true or not, based upon the fact that her lawyer went with a strategy that she did not feel comfortable with, that he made some confessions or some statements that she did not want. And that's why the judge said, look, let's have a hearing fully on this. As far as the competency issue, hers is as bad as just about anybody who brings competency issues, as far as I'm concerned, during the trial. She participated, she was there, she was malingering, she was faking. It was pretty clear.
Stephen, what do you think, especially in terms of what Sean just talked about, those issues that she could bring up perhaps on appeal, even though she's been denied from the same trial judge, she could take this higher. But she claims that her attorney didn't get her approval to argue during those closing arguments where she wasn't a party. She wasn't there because she was having this panic attack inside of the jail cell. He argued that, yes, this may have been voluntary manslaughter, but it was not first-degree murder. And help us understand what's in the hands of the attorney and what has to be explicitly agreed to by the defendant.
What's really interesting about it is this really opens the door for the prosecution. As part of what they call in Michigan a Ginther hearing, the prosecution will be able to effectively get into the door of attorney-client privilege and understand what the defense strategies were, what may have made and may have not been discussed with the defendant. So I think they'll really find out what is going on and be privy to more information that is going to shed light on a lot of that.
Ellis, she has a law degree. She was working as a clerk. By all appearances, she's a pretty intelligent woman as far as her book smarts. Do you think that cut against her, though? It probably helped her to figure out this plan in terms of what she was going to argue for a new trial. But it also, I think, helped the judge to believe you weren't incompetent. You understood how this worked and no doubt gave your consent to a lot of it with your attorney.
I think the issue here is that she went catatonic during the cross-examination when things got tough. So that is a sign that it wasn't being sincere, that she wasn't being sincere, that she was faking it. What's more is the attorney comes back and says that she's waiving her presence for the rest of the jury, and now she's saying, no, I didn't do that. Now she's flipping it and also saying that I didn't actually give authorization for him to argue manslaughter and conceded. So that's going to be at issue too. The judge has already found her incredible, and at this hearing, her credibility will be at issue. So it doesn't, just because she got the hearing doesn't mean she'll likely prevail.
Ellis Palavides, Stephen Longo, and Sean Kent, we appreciate your time. That's all the time that we have for now, but we thank you for your analysis. When we come back from this break, we're going to reveal something else you need to know. Plus, here's a look at what's coming up in the next hour on VPI. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, while a quadruple murderer spends the rest of his life in prison for the slaying of 4 University of Idaho students, police are releasing new documents from the case, including reports from his first interviews with investigators. What did the killer tell detectives?
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates. Coming up next, only on Court TV.
Two parents face a jury
over the attempted murder of their own daughter.
Court TV takes you inside the trial that's torn a family apart.
The attempted honor killing trial. Live coverage continues Monday morning, only on Court TV.
Welcome back. We have reached the point where we reveal something else you need to know tonight, so let's put it up on the big board. Oklahoma pediatrician Neha Gupta has been charged with the murder of her 4-year-old daughter while on vacation in Florida. They say she staged it to look like a drowning. Gupta's daughter Aria died in June, and autopsy results indicated that she died from asphyxiation with no water present in the child's lungs. And now authorities have released the body cam footage from Gupta's arrest on July 1st at her home there in Oklahoma. Take a look.
Police with a warrant! Open the door! Do it now! Come to the door! Turn around. Last come up with breach. She just went back to the breach. Oh, Neha Gupta, come to the front door! Do it now! Breach. The U.S. Marshals, we have a warrant for your arrest! Come to the front door! Do it now!
We saw her. Back in the back.
Clear.
Okay. Opening up these garage doors. Opening up the garage doors. We're clear outside.
Push up here.
Hands! Come out!
Contact.
On the ground. Come here.
Stand up. Keep clearing the rest of this and get her out. She hasn't been checked. No. You good? Or take her. Do you want to help me?
Gupta remains in jail with no bond at this point. We'll continue to follow that case for any developments here on Court TV. We do have an important programming note and another case that we have, of course, been following very closely, the Doomsday Cult Mom case. Brandon Boudreaux, a victim of Lori Vallows, is going to sit down with our own Court TV crime and justice correspondent Matt Johnson for Boudreaux's first interview after today's sentencing of Lori Daybell. We will hear how it was to deliver that powerful victim impact statement and what happens next for him and his family. It's an interview you have to see. You'll be able to watch it Monday morning starting at 8 a.m. right here on Court TV. And before we end this hour, we want to show you a picture. Stop, pause, take a look at your screen. This is Erick Casas. Erick is 17 years old and was last seen in Tacoma, Washington on July 21st. If you have any information about where Erick is tonight, you can call the Pierce County Sheriff's Office in Washington. That number is on your screen. Or you can call 911 or always 1-800-THE-LOST. Let's see if we can get Erick to a safe place tonight. That's it for closing arguments. Don't go anywhere, though. We have another hour of live true crime coming up next on Vinnie Politan Investigates.